It's such a finicky software.
Mm.
At any rate, we are live. That's right. We're only 6 minutes late. Really, we're 36 minutes late.
About 36 minutes.
Yeah, but, we came back and said, no. 7:30, 7:36.
I just got the notice that we're live.
We are live.
They just got told something. Buncombe is live. I don't know if you knew. Buncombe.
Okay.
Bill, I don't know if you knew. You're live.
I knew something was live.
Something of yourself.
Something of myself is alive. Speaking of being alive or not. Right. So, I am on Twitter. I have 0 followers, I'm pretty sure. And so we post to Instagram and Twitter. And on Twitter, I came across a Lich, which I think is pretty fucking cool. And had posted a little bit here and there about, hey dude, I like your Lich stuff. So, I got a post back. It's a snotty post. And I, shot back and shots were fired. But turns out the guy's really cool. We were bantering back and forth, love at first sight. I tell Ben that tonight we're going to talk about this. This is the dude's page. Oh, that's not that dude's page. This is the dude's page. How do you pronounce that?
Lich Zoluan is how I pronounce it.
Lich Zoluan. That's at D&D_Lich. And he's a Lich.
Look at him. He's all animated and shit.
Got a cool voice and
pointing
everything.
His finger.
Yeah, got the finger point down. So, we made a tabletop RPG, if you didn't know. And so I was like, oh, well, we'll talk to this guy and we'll kind of get something going. It'll be really cool. I let Ben know about it, and he's a bit of a wizard, there's a pun there, on social media. And he's like, no, this isn't a real person. It's a bot. And I said, what the hell is a bot? Right? I mean, I do programming, but I don't do like Sidekick and like weird video game bot shit. I was like, what? There's bots? I thought bots were just like they tweeted you or like they tried to get you to go to porn sites or something or misinformation about politics, as we just discussed. No. Apparently, there are bots that have full-on accounts, and they passed the Turing test, at least with me, because I thought this motherfucker was a real person. Yeah, I was actually concerned. I was like, oh, wait, is he for real or not? Does he know I'm kind of trolling him? Or does he get that I'm banned? Oh, yeah, he replied, everything's cool. Yeah, we're cool. Ha, ha, ha. I'm actually a little dismayed. No one cares. Okay. Anyway. You have anything to say about this?
You want to show the creators at...
Oh, yeah. Do I want to? Because I kind of got boned. I'm not sure if I want.
But no, I mean, so okay. Check it out. This guy, I think his name is Benilio, is how I'm pronouncing it. He's got the Patreon page there, patreon.com/Benilio.
Yep.
He is also on Twitter as @Benilio, same spelling.
So is creating interactive fantasy RPG bots. Had I gone to this, perhaps I would have known.
Indeed. So I think there are several out there. There's like Peeper the Goblin. There's Fighter Jelena, and the Lich's nemesis, D&D cleric Horgar, is like a dwarf. And he coded at least, or he is operating at least 2 of those bot accounts. But he's created what seems to be a fairly robust AI scripting suite that has branching decision-making processes involved in it. And the bots basically troll through Twitter and retweet
my tweets.
TTRPG-related things.
They didn't retweet me.
It seems like it focuses on stuff like what we're producing, indie RPG projects and gaming groups, streams, that kind of thing.
Speaking of that...
and then also they occasionally do the personalities, because they are nemesis, argue with one another.
I figure if we're gonna literally put someone else's Patreon on here, I might as well put my own.
Indeed.
Right, so Something Buncombe or Trois Productions apparently has an offer. Patreon-only merch the easy way. Come on, Patreon, don't slut me now. Well, I can't make that go away, so whatever. Yeah, so this is my Patreon. There it goes. That's that latency. Terrible Productions is what it's called. And where are the tiers to this? How do you find your tiers? Under tier. Public. Filter by tier. I don't think so, actually. Anyway, the download speed is really terrible, but that has nothing to do with
Now it's updated.
There it is. It is updated. So yeah, this Patreon is the one for Something Buncombe, which is this channel, and the long and the short of it is it's short films, it's GameTalk, it's pretty much everything that I'm doing, and then also that Ben is doing when it comes to DreadLore and such. So, your patronage would be appreciated, even if it's $1 or $5. Really, you want the $5, the second tier. That's the good one. Okay, so yeah, look at all this stuff. So I gotta bend it in the quench. So I gotta start over. That's beautiful. Alright, so let's destroy that. And that. I was gonna have a huge shout out for the D&D Lich.
We kind of did.
I guess
mean,
we
we
did.
showed the Patreon and everything. And the point is, the bots are cool, and they seem to be helpful for the RPG community because they're retweeting indie groups and projects.
That
and
is
that's
cool.
pretty
That is
fucking cool.
And the whole idea of like building a bot and like, doing that is not an easy thing. So I respect the hell out of that. I just also kind of wish I'd been talking. It's like, well, being on, what is it? Tinder?
Yeah.
I've never used Tinder. I don't even know why I'm bringing that up. Okay. So.
Because I just talked about.
Because you just talked
and
about
how I would try.
Hi, Megan. You got boned by a Lich. Classic. Oh, damn it. I know. Drop the links, right. That's a good idea.
Put them in the chat.
I will put them in. Ben, would you like to talk about what we're going to talk about?
Okay, so last time we left off the stream, we were talking about expertise. That's module 4 in the book. We're about to jump back down to that. Just as a recap for DreadLore and expertise within the system. Expertise is a mechanic, a player advancement that gives the player characters access to abilities that they wouldn't otherwise have. Once you've advanced into these forms of expertise, you can do things you couldn't do before. And if you spend the traits associated with those expertise abilities, then you get extra dice to roll when you throw down, and that increases your likelihood of success, and also potentially the magnitude of your success. It makes you more powerful. To phrase it another way. We are going through the philosophy and soldiering aspects of expertise, and assassination and that kind of stuff. I say mundane, but it is a little bit of a misnomer. These are not meant; they're explicitly not meant to be supernatural talents. Although the assassination stuff really does blur that line more than the rest. But they do give you abilities that are not realistic, or not something that you would really see in the real world in a lot of cases. Like being able to put on plate mail more swiftly in the way that we describe it as a form of expertise, you just can't do. especially not by yourself. Yeah, there we go.
I was just updating it from there.
Yeah. So now that we're caught up, where we left off with it was, I think, a relatively unresolved case of, are we merging these two page of soldiering things, or are we splitting them into like a page of soldiering and a page of something else? And that was where we left off the last stream, more or less.
Yep.
Now, Will hates feat trees, and one of the side effects of player progression and things that I've always found to be, I'm more comfortable with it, and I think that when you are on a certain path, especially in regard to training in Magicka or training in, like, you know, a secret death cult of assassins, because those don't exist.
No, soon sure is
Those
not
don't
a thing.
they don't exist in DreadLore on Craster. Certain talents and abilities are locked behind different levels of training.
Yeah, feet
And
wall.
so you end up with prereqs, and I think that's I'm comfortable with it, and I think it's relatively unavoidable. I think that at this point it's built into the system, and this is less an argument about, because actually there was a point in the early days.
In the early days.
In the early days, where I was like, yeah, fuck feat trees, we're not gonna have them, and then we started creating abilities that you don't start the game with, and immediately prereqs came up. Like you have to be so strong. You have to do this. You have to have a certain military rank. You have to have met the necessary contacts in the world and have sponsorship with that agency, or yada 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 yada.
Which normally in a game system, that's just, oh yeah, you have it. You know?
Yeah.
Like
Or-
a lot of the PRCs back in 3.5, they were so cool. The lore was so cool, but it'd be like you know, like one of them I think was you had to like see someone die or like die yourself once or something.
Yeah. Or, hey, listen, by level 11, you know, the optimum time for me to enter into this cleric PRC is level 11. So at level 11, I need to have met a Solar so that I
Right.
can take the PRC, because it gives me extra domains, and it's just not optimal if I take it at level 12.
Yeah. So for those who don't know what we're talking about, sorry, we're talking about D&D version 3.5. The long and the short of it is, PRC is a prestige class. It goes on top of your class and makes it cooler. A Solar is like, it's the angel you think it is. With like the flaming sword.
The actual prereq read something along, and I am still paraphrasing, but it read something along the lines of the highest manifestation of your belief structure, and as a cleric, that's going to be tied to your alignment or an ideal or the god that you follow. So Solars are, aside from the deity itself or the ideal itself, like the Platonic ideal, capital T, truth sort of thing, Solars are the biggest, baddest angels.
In
They're
Dungeons and
the
Dragons.
highest order of angels in Dungeons and Dragons.
Right, in DreadLore, it's a totally different ball game. They're called horrors.
Yeah.
But regardless, the point about feat trees, you really can't avoid them if you're going to have powers that build on powers.
But we don't like it.
Right. The problem that I do not think is inherent in having, you know, a level 1 power so that you can get a level 2 power, so you can get a level 3 power, just to use easy nomenclature. You know, a progression of power, so to speak, is it doesn't have to have throwaway powers, which is the pitfall that a lot of feat trees get into. So you actually want that feat, but you've got to take like 3 or 4 throwaway feats that are good, but like you never use them.
What was the classic
Spring
bullshit?
attack.
Spring attack. You've got to take dodge, something else, and then
Dodge, mobility,
and then
and
spring
then you get
attack.
spring attack. And
Dodge, as written, most people homebrewed that shit because
Yeah.
it was awful the way, like by default.
It was just clunky
It was
and-
okay. it was clunky and annoying by default. It was okay with the generally accepted homebrew for it, the homebrew fix. Mobility was worthless no matter what.
I loved mobility, but you had to play a character that was doing it.
Yeah, it just didn't, like, for the feat, it wasn't on par with the things that you could get. Spring Attack was great.
Yeah, and in 5th edition, you just have it.
The alternative is you just learn to fly with an item or a spell, or, and then you take flyby attack. And then you can skip the feat tree altogether.
See, this is what I hate about feat trees. It's like, not him. What I hate about feat trees is the moment that the mechanics of the game get that kind of clunky, then players inevitably are like, well, why would I be that character because the mechanics are clunky? Instead, I'm going to accomplish the same thing better, but I've got to be able to fly and shoot fireballs out of my ass.
Yep. So
everyone can shoot fireballs out of their ass and fly, but they're also someone who, like, your story goes out the window because that has nothing to do with the story.
Exactly. And it's like, and the problem with that is it really does poison the well. In the case that I'm giving with flyby attack, it's like, I don't even care if I'm flying. It's not part of my character concept. I just don't want to take 3 feats when I could take 1, and that really is the break.
Yep.
So I think as writers, I know that in 1.7 I feel like we were very, very diligent about
DreadLore 1.7.
Indeed. Yeah. Look, back when a lot of these were written, we did a very good job issuing dead weight in these expertise progressions.
Yeah.
None of them...
Eschewing. That's the word you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
None of the at the time we were calling them powers, none of the powers at this point in Relapse, and what I think Relapse really addressed with the way that you've redesigned all of these expertise, pages and scrolls and whatnot, they do not build on each other. You don't have to take a whole page to take a different page.
Right.
And they're all uniform. The idea is that if you're investing in a page, it's worth getting all of them anyway, because they're all tied into the same relative character concept. They're all nice and tight, and they're all worth having. Indeed. As in well organized, they're not loosely associated abilities. They're all in line with what you would want, and generally every step along that way, every step in that page, as in the page of soldiering in this case, is desirable for the character who would want to take one of them. They really would be a boon to have all of them anyway. It best cases, right? We're doing our best. There's always going to be outliers, but
some balancing is definitely in our future.
But
so the question at hand is,
none of them actually build on one another, right? I don't need I don't need a page of soldiering to do a different page in the treatises of war.
Well, to a degree, so this is a bit of a hybrid. The way that I wrote it,
what I mean is, you don't need the page of Miyamoto to do the page of Black Agnes.
Correct.
Right. Now, you need step 1 within Black Agnes to take step 2.
Yes.
But you don't need to finish.
Right.
Page of Miyamoto and Page of Black Agnes are independent of one another in terms of progression.
Right.
Okay? Yeah, there's no interdependency there. It's all intra-dependent. Within the page itself, you need to progress. Between them, it's not a concern.
And the goal there is to mirror kind of how Magicka works.
Indeed.
Right? So
just,
you have...
Just to keep... sorry.
No, it's fine.
Just to keep uniformity in as much as possible. Magicka is necessarily more complex because it's a free-form system of spellcasting and magic.
It's magic.
It is magic. And when you're giving people a limited form of, like, carte blanche, there needs to be some extra structure on top of what's here for the rest of expertise.
You can't hold me down.
Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Ain't nothing gonna hold me down. Oh no, I've got to keep on moving.
I'm pretty sure we just got censored. Anyway, dude, it happened the last time that I played.
Only that part of the stream, though, right?
Yeah, it just goes mute. The last time that I streamed, I think I was by myself doing the bestiary.
Yeah.
And I was playing music, and we were all like jamming to it, and yeah, the whole thing got axed.
Yeah.
Because somebody was like, I can't believe. I think my account has actually been flagged, like, or someone like trolls it, and is like, they used a sound bite.
I shouldn't have sung it.
No, that's fine.
I'm
Actually,
sorry.
if you sang it, I think it's okay.
I
don't know.
So there are users that can report it, but a lot of it's automated.
Oh, I would feel better if I weren't getting botted all the time. I'm so tired of bots.
A lot of it is automated.
Oh,
and
bots.
there's no like time limit or anything, but it's pretty much like 3 seconds. If you play less than 3 seconds with a song, the bot may not recognize it.
Well, regardless, prerequisites can be a real pain. This is true. Apparently, you can't write any comment with biatch. Really?
We can.
Did that come up? Weird. Maybe it's only the big B bitch. Weird.
Oh well.
Yeah, I may have some filter on there, but if I did, that is not intentional. So we're here. What did you guys do at this point? Did you change anything?
We read through it. We changed a little bit. But the bottom line is that what we're doing here. What we're doing here, for example, we've got the name of the discovery.
Yep.
We've got the trait that the discovery gives you, and then we've got as per your template, you're using that trait in a sentence within the description.
Right.
This one needs some work here. It's not necessarily what I would call deprecated, but the temporary horse and injured flaws should probably be an other condition.
Yeah, I think hands down they just should be other conditions. And it should be like you get another condition, and those are examples of the other conditions. Yeah, I agree. And that was one of the things. So when I was, a lot of these are from 1.7, but then some of the powers from 1.7, while they were cool, they had great descriptions, just interesting ideas. One specifically was called Drink the Sea. It just does not work in this game. So where I could, I manipulated the rules. It's just it started getting a little clunky as it is there. Go on.
The next one, it needs an expertise trait associated with it.
Yep.
It could be stab.
Let's see. So tricks and maneuvers while dealing and in the heat of battle.
Dealing damage and in the heat of battle, maybe, was what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, dealing death.
Yeah, sweet.
It is Miyamoto. Alright. Battle cry. You gain shout when in close quarters combat. Shout so loud that it hurts and knocks your foes off their feet, off their guard, granting you a bonus 1 success when attacking. Whoo! That should only work if you actually hit. Oh no, it's bonus 1 success. So you automatically get a success just by doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that essentially allows you to do to bid twice. Like you can already bid and gain an automatic success.
Yeah, as a reminder, you have to bid a character trait of some sort to take a major action without impairment.
Yep.
If you bid a second character trait in that same way for that major action, you get a +1 bonus
success.
Yeah, you get an added success.
And if you have battle cry and you are doing what this is saying, you can spend another trait, an expertise trait, and get another success.
Right.
Which is actually pretty cool, but you would not get the extra die if you did that.
Yeah.
And I think there is some ambiguity potentially there.
Yeah, and the pointy end is essentially the same thing without a shout. It originally was armor rending, but it had a caveat that basically says if they're not wearing armor or they don't have any armor traits left,
Yep.
then you just deal an extra point of damage. And so what Cameron and I talked about on stream is if that caveat is present, then the armor thing doesn't matter, because a point of damage or a success on the attack roll or it's all the same mechanically in DreadLore.
You're right.
So 1A and 1B are the same. And one requires a shout and has a downside, and the other one doesn't. I'd say just get rid of 1B. Because they're not balanced. If we're keeping them both, they should have the same effect, a bonus success when attacking. It's just, but the problem is there's no progression there. One is an alternative than the other, and clearly pointy end is better.
Well, you could always just make pointy end 2A.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't need it, then you don't need it.
Well, let's read through these, because I don't think that there's been a decision about are we merging these two soldiering pages, or are we separating them out?
Okay.
Because
So
if we have enough, like if we start trimming these duplicates that are like, oh, that's more or less the same, then we might end up merging them. But if there's a lot of differentiation there, then we can separate them out.
And there's also the idea, which we have to be careful about, but of the sort of feat tree idea where the way we did it in 1.7 was we would say, okay, this is a power, this is an advanced power. And the point of that was it's the same power, just makes it better. So it could be Battle Cry, and then the advanced power is, it makes it 2 damage instead of 1.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we should do that with that, but that is an option.
The idea would be further down in the page, you no longer have to shout, or the shouting doesn't make you hoarse.
Yeah.
You get the same effect without the downside.
But that is in fact a feature.
As long as you're not buying into more than 1 feat, it's not. If we keep it within the same page, like for example, if we added a 3rd discovery here, that was essentially Shout Part 2 or version 2, like an improved version, then I don't think it violates that principle. It's just not unique.
The way that I thought of people using it was, okay, I'm going to do an action, a major action, and stab the shit out of someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like stab the shit out of a big pumpkin or something, right? Or break down a door, whatever it is, something violent. And so I'm going to bid my trait, I'm a violent person. Okay, and the Arbiter says I got to throw down, great. I'm going to roll my dice, but before I do, you know what? I just want to make sure I deal a ton of damage. So I'm going to use Battle Cry as I raise my hammer above my head. I'm going to use the pointy end of the hammer, so it's 2 successes. I'm going to bid my other trait, which is, some character trait I have. I'm a big dude, bam. So immediately I have 3 damage. My hammer is, let's say, a +2 weapon because it's medium. So now I have 5 damage before I even roll.
Yeah.
And so that was my whole idea of, yes, you're blowing through traits, and you don't get the extra die. But the thing is that this allows you to bid any trait, essentially, and gain that expertise. So if I wanted to, I could be like, okay, well, I'm going to do one of my actual expertise to gain an extra die.
Correct.
The idea is, normally, of the things you can do when throwing down, you can kind of just do them once. So if you bid an expertise trait to gain an extra die, you've done that. If you roll your action aspect die, you've done that, right? You bid a trait for ninja gear to get an extra die, then you've done that. But this allows you to go around it and gain these extra successes. That was my idea.
Yeah, because you're not necessarily bidding traits to make use of these abilities.
Exactly.
You're bidding traits for extra dice.
And so in that regard, that's the reason I made it 1A and 1B, is a person can be like, well, 1A is really cool, you get the drawback, 1B, you just get extra damage. Well, I'll take 1B. Well, then the next time they advance, it's like, well, where do I go? Well, I'll take 1A. Even though it has a drawback, I don't have to take 1A then 1B.
Right.
I could do it any way I want. And so long as I take one of the ones, then I can go to 2.
Right.
So I can fit it around how my character is.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they weren't balanced to begin with.
Gotcha.
Right? So they actually do build, but you don't have to take them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I like them both. And just for
Also, Miyamoto should stab something.
Yeah.
Like, that's his whole thing.
He should also shout.
And he should shout. Yeah, both of those things.
And raise a boat oar over his head.
To raise the boat oar, you would be careful.
And just for some clarification, Jesus Christ, heaven and earth at the exact same time is going on.
Jesus Christ and heaven and earth at the same time is going on here. Indeed.
Oh, I was just reading the chat, I guess.
I don't know. Hi, Waka.
So just for clarification here, we're using, honestly, successes on the attack roll and damage interchangeably here.
Yeah.
And breaking that down quickly, just to get you all on the same page, we did go over this originally, but as a reminder, the way that attack rolls work in DreadLore, one, it's a major action, so you're bidding a character trait to do this, but you take your action roll, so your action die and the aspect die, which may be brawn, it may be grace aspect. You roll those 2 dice as a baseline, and your target that you're attacking will make a reaction roll against this to defend themselves. And the difference between your target's reaction and your action roll is the amount of damage you deal to them. So bonus successes will translate to damage as long as you have more successes than they do. So, for example, I'm attacking Will, and I get 3 successes and he gets 2. He will take 1 damage. At that point, he can work towards, I guess, negating that effect. Look, dice.
Dice. So I actually don't have a D10.
We don't have a D10.
Okay, so let's say you have your 2 die, right? Let me go get it. Fucking die 10. Hold on. If we're gonna do an example, I might as well do an example right.
What's hilarious is every time I come here to this studio to do this live stream, I always stop where I keep all my gaming stuff and I think, should I bring my dice?
Answer is you should always bring your dice. Okay, so this is a die 20. If those of you have never seen one, we don't use this.
Get rid of it.
Yeah, this is a die that Megan actually gave me. I call it the Megan die. Okay, so your action die is a die 10. This guy looks like that. It has 10 sides. It's a die 10. This is a die 8. Has 8 sides. Normal die. D6, 6 sides, and
we
those
don't
are the ones.
We don't have a D4.
Those are the ones I have.
If you don't have a D4, you can roll a D8 and have it.
Yeah, no one will understand that. Okay, except for Megan. So the point is, in DreadLore, when you are throwing down, then you have a die 10. This is an action die. You also have what's called an aspect, and your aspect simulates things like how strong you are, how fast you are, how perceptive you are, how smart you are. The words we use for this are brawn, grace, mind, and what's the other one? Wits.
Yeah.
Okay? Yay, I'm infamous. It's true. All right. So, let's say you're trying to bust down this door. You're going to use brawn. All right? So, or you could use grace.
Yeah.
You could use grace. But let's say you've convinced your arbiter that you're like shouldering it, so you're using brawn. All right? So the arbiter says, okay, what do you bid to break down the door? Because you're doing a major action, you're busting down this door, right? Maybe there's like a bunch of like pizza on the other side, and you want it.
I bid ramming speed.
Right. So he just has on his character sheet a bunch of traits. You can get the traits from these expertise. You can get them from things you've advanced into. You can get them from the shit you carry, well, like ninja gear is what we call it. You can get it just by the character that you made, and that's all about character creation. You will have a ton of character traits. One of his
ramming speed.
is ramming speed, because maybe he rams a lot. I don't know.
I hit people.
Yeah.
With my shoulder check people like a hockey player.
So I say, okay, what do you bid to do this major action to break down the door?
And I bid ramming speed.
He bids ramming speed. Okay, well, describe that. That would be different than I bid hateful, or I bid big dude, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to have a different narrative aspect. If he bids ramming speed and he's like, I try the doorknob, I would be like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
You ram into the doorknob,
With
not
my hand.
with your hand. Whatever.
So the way that I would describe this in this hypothetical situation is like, okay, everybody move to the sides of the hallway, and I start walking back. I take about 10 feet, get a running start, haul ass into the door and shoulder check it.
Right. So that's his major action. Now the Arbiter has the choice here. The Arbiter, perhaps they thought about it before. If they're me, they probably do it on the fly. And the idea is saying, is this element of the story necessary to prolong, right? Is it more fun to have him bust through the door because he's a big dude and that's what he's supposed to do? Or should the door be like the stout whatever door with like chains and shit, and it's reinforced with like a bunch of gremlins on the other side holding it?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
How much does the door matter?
Yeah, how much does the door matter in the story?
Is this a way to circumvent another story element? As in, there's a key somewhere they could have gotten, and this is them sort of sidelining that?
Right. So, and it's hard to describe if you've never played a game like this. It's like describing a roller coaster if you've never been on one. You kind of just have to do it to really know what it means. But let's say me as the Arbiter, I'm saying, yeah, you need to find the skeleton key. You can't get through this door just because it's magical or something.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make it real hard to bust down, right? So he does that. He bids ramming speed, and I say, okay, well, you have to bid, you have to throw down. You got to throw down your dice. So he's going to do two things. One, use his action die, which is almost like 98% of the time, it's a die 10. And then he's going to use his brawn aspect. You got 4 aspects, he's going to use his brawn. There's a die associated to it. Since he's a big dude, he probably has, let's just say call him a D12, because that's pretty much the biggest die we have.
That is the biggest die we have.
So, he will roll those dice together.
So, you take both of them together, and you roll them. So, this is it's not a bad
That's a
roll
great
here.
roll. What are you talking about?
So I got an 8 on the D10. The way that success works in DreadLore, as a reminder, the nomenclature we use is on a 4 up, as in a 4 or higher on the die. That is a success. On an 8 up or an 8 or higher on the die, that is two successes.
Right.
So pale,
2
it's hard, you can't
successes.
see my fingers. A
That's
7.
actually flipping them off.
This?
Yeah. Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
The what?
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is fuck you.
Where?
In Britain.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that like the whole
Like that.
like
that, yeah.
yeah, so like yeah, okay. Juggling.
From what I understand, and Wonka, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Chad told me this. Supposedly, the English longbowmen, if they got caught by the French, they would chop off these 2 fingers so
Just
they
that
couldn't
middle finger.
draw back the bow, and so they would do this to be like I still have my middle finger, and then they'd shoot him with an arrow. I don't know if that's a wives' tale or what. But that's the tale of it.
I've seen people do this in British movies,
That's what they
but
mean.
I've always heard the longbowman thing is this.
At any rate, we're flipping everyone off. So he rolled an 8, which is 2 successes, and a 7, which is 1 success.
Which is 1 success.
So that means.
If it were this, it'd be 2.
So that means.
If it were this, it'd be none.
So, camera's up.
Oh, right, they can't see.
So He got 2 on one die, 1 on the other. That's 3.
3 successes.
Ergo, he has 3 successes. So the Arbiter would say, I would already have this in my mind, of how many successes does he need to do the thing? If he needed 5, then I'm like, yeah, you bounce off. It's funny. Now, maybe he has an expertise such as the pointy end in Battle Cry, and he's like, okay, hold on. Is it okay if I continue bidding? Sure, why not? I use Battle Cry, gain a success. Bam, you're at 4. You still bounce off. Use the pointy end. Well, if he...
Very pointy shoulder. I'm bony.
Very just bony.
Bony.
A bony guy. 5 successes, it's technically limbo. Okay, the door starts breaking. Let's move on with the book. That's really interesting. Yeah.
I think we need to stick with this for just a second.
Do
Because
it.
we were describing, this is uncontested. And
Yes.
we were describing contested actions.
So, yeah, go on.
So, for example, let's say I'm not shoulder checking a door. Let's say I'm shoulder checking a person and I'm trying to knock them over the edge of a cliff because I want them to fall into the snow just like 5 feet down.
Yeah.
And they won't get hurt. Because it's different. But they're wily and they're going to try to get out of the way and they know how to move their weight and bend like a willow tree in the wind or something. And they're going to resist this with grace. And let's say they're graceful too. And they also have a D10 and a D12.
Oh, before you do though, in this scenario,
Either one is
in
fine.
this scenario, the Arbiter, so if he's trying to do this to an NPC, a non-player character, meaning a character that is not a real person, someone just in the game, the Arbiter could just say, okay, they resist, but the difficulty is 5. So the Arbiter can give him a static number that he rolls against, just like the door, because mechanically, the door and an NPC are exactly the same. Or he could have them roll against it. Or, for instance, if he's attacking a player, that would be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And this would happen.
Yeah. So let's say we're doing a player.
A player. PvP.
It's PvP. I want them down there making snow angels because I'm big and I think it's funny. But they're live and tricky, and they also have a D12, but in grace to get away. And Will, why don't you go ahead and roll this? So remember, I had 3 successes to knock them into the snow.
Okay, so like he said, their action die, it's almost always a D10. And we'll say they're super graceful, so they also have a D12. Mind you, this is the biggest die you can get. Okay, so I roll, and I do shitty. I got a 6, and I got a 3. So, a 3 is nothing. That's 0 successes, because it's not a 4 up. So that's nothing. A 6 is above a 4, so it's 1 success. It's lower than an 8, so this is just 1 success. So if he had rolled and gotten 5 successes, and I had rolled and gotten 1 success, 5 minus 1, I take 4 damage.
Although in this example, you can forego the damage, because I'm not trying, in this example, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm just trying to push you into the snow.
I'm the Arbiter, you're not hurting me.
Indeed, well, not in this case. You're a player. The Arbiter is the camera or something. I don't know. Yeah. It's an impartial judge.
Indeed.
So if it weren't, if I were like actually like attacking a monster in a dungeon or something like that, and I was trying to knock it down, bowl it over, then the difference in those 4 successes would equate to 4 damage.
Right.
And that's why we say that success and damage in regard to attacking an opponent is essentially the same. They're interchangeable.
Right.
Because it's all about, well, did you beat their defense? Yes. Okay. By how many successes?
And there's a whole idea of degrees of success, which we will get into at a later date. The long and the short of that is, if you go 5 above, every 5 above, there's kind of like, it's a greater deal. So, in this example, he got 4 above, I fall off and hit some branches, and now I'm making snow angels. If he'd gotten 12, Well, if I was the Arbiter, I would make him deal damage.
You are too aggressive.
Okay.
Overkill. You have hurt your friend.
But I didn't mean to. Well, that's typically how it works. Like, sorry, I stabbed you. Okay, so
Oh no.
we've done Battle Cry and the Pointy End. This is in the page of Miyamoto.
Indeed.
Warrior Sense. So it's called Warrior Sense. It gives you the trait Warrior Sense. You can tell because it has these brackets. You have a gift, a Warrior's Sense, which gives you the ability to take action when others stand gawking. With an appropriate bid, you may perform a reaction if you sense a threat, even when you're surprised, albeit with impaired dice. It's a little crunchy.
What that really says is that while other people can't react when surprised, because the idea behind the surprised condition is you don't get to roll against whatever's happening to you. You have your baseline stuff to absorb the impact of whatever's happening, and that's it. You don't react because you don't see it coming. This says you get to react anyway. It's just not as good. But that is better than no reaction at all. So it's, again, an ability that you wouldn't otherwise have.
You may perform a reaction if you sense a threat. So that wording is intentional. Because you could roll down the way and just by the description, you're going down, let's say we'll stick with the dungeon. I don't know why everyone's rolling through dungeons, but let's say you're going through a dungeon, right? And, it's deep and dark and crevassy and there's spider webs everywhere and a haunting, woo, and all this kind of stuff. And there's like, what other big words can I throw in there? Sarcophagi amongst sepulchres. Point is, a player could say, I sense a threat, right?
It's more of a question of, do the circumstances really suggest that you should be on guard or not?
Right.
Right? Like, if you're surrounded by treacherous and perfidious foes, then yeah, you're on guard and you
right.
probably
And then
sense a threat coming.
One pulls out his dagger. It's described, the Arbiter says, pulls out his dagger and stabs you. The player could say, I kind of saw that coming. Can I got Warrior Sense, so I should be able to react naturally, like as he's going. And that's, in game mechanics terms, you're kind of going at the same time, if not a little bit before, the bad guy.
Yeah.
Without having to spend cunning, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you get to react. Now let's say...
although that reaction is probably best suited to be like, I don't want to get stabbed,
right.
rather than trying to get them too.
Right.
But that's a character decision. Maybe you're into it. Maybe you do the Hulk thing and just pull the dagger in deeper so that you can pummel them.
Now,
but
the way this also
no
works, so your reaction would be normal. It's essentially it gives the player the power to say, hey Arbiter, I have an expertise that literally says I get a reaction if it makes sense. Now granted, any player could kind of do that, but this is like set in stone. You also have a trait, as in this is giving you Warrior Sense. You can use it in different ways, whatever.
Yeah.
The thing it also gives you is, let's say it's your best friend, and plot twist, they stab you in the belly. Okay, I have Warrior Sense. As they do that, I'm going to make my reaction. That's something other people can't do. Now maybe they might be able to weasel that out, but your character can do it. With impaired dice. What are impaired dice, Ben?
Impaired dice. Let's go back to the roll that I had knocking Will into making snow angels. So I had a 7 on my D12, I believe, and an 8 on my D10 for 3 successes total. Now, let's say I had a 12 and an 8. That's 4 successes. That's 2 die results that are 8 or higher. So 2, 4 successes. Impairment says, we don't give a shit about your 8 up. You can only get a maximum of 1 success per die. So it's only 4 up that matters here. So I go from 4 successes to 1, 2, 2 successes.
Right.
It's heinous. When you're rolling with impairment, it is hard to do something amazing. Although success when impaired is amazing in and of itself,
Yep. You're
you're just not gonna be doing like weird and beautiful figure skating routine
Right.
in impairment. You know, that's all there is to it. So in a sense, essentially to sum up, Warrior Sense basically says that although you're impaired, you get a reaction when others wouldn't, as long as it makes sense. Case in point, if you're on guard and expecting trouble, you get the reaction even though they did get the better of you. It's just not as good. If you are off guard, you're out laughing, doing karaoke with your friends at the bar, and someone like gets you in the back, then you probably don't get a reaction.
Unless you have Warrior Sense. In which case, you do.
Well, I thought the whole point you were making was that you don't.
Oh, no. See,
It says if you sense a threat.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, no, it says even when you're surprised.
If you sense the threat.
Okay, so it needs to be edited then. Because that whole deal is, yeah.
I thought that's where you were going with it. You were like, it matters because it says if you sense the threat.
No.
I don't care. The way that you had initially explained it and were drawing attention to that clause was you have to be in circumstances that would mean you're on guard. If your guard is down and you don't know the burglars in your house and you just got off a 10-hour shift and you're in your favorite recliner and you're about to pass out and someone goes to cut your throat, sorry?
So what I'm saying is actually not that. What I'm saying is that's a normal person. The way this is supposed to read is, with an appropriate bid, you may perform a reaction if you sense a threat. Even when you're surprised, this isn't written right because, like you said, that's based on if you sense a threat.
Let me clear that up. I'm going to separate the fluff from the mechanic there, the fluff from crunch. Yep. So you have a gift, a Warrior Sense, which gives you the ability to take action when others stand gawking. So with an appropriate bid, so basically, I'm just going to do this. Bid a character trait to... I hate there's no delete function on Mac. It's backspace only.
Truth.
To perform a reaction.
Whether you... Well, okay.
When you are surprised, albeit with impaired dice. That cuts rid of anything unnecessary. Because if all it is people don't get to react when surprised, but you do,
you just
then
have
it's
to bid
good.
for it.
So bid a character trait to perform a reaction when surprised. The reaction has impaired dice.
So here's a question: normal people, if I say, "Oh, you're surprised when this happens," and they say, "Well, can I bid so that I can react?" Oftentimes they'll be able to. So I wonder if this power should just not have the impaired dice.
Let's go back and look at the condition.
Let's look at the condition.
So, surprised. A surprised character cannot make reactions or major actions.
Can they bid to not be surprised? See, that's how it'll go. Okay,
Yeah.
Can I bid I'm super aware so I'm not surprised? Oh, yeah.
I think that comes from what are you all bidding?
Yeah.
Like for example, and what I mean by that, for the audience's sake, oftentimes the arbiter will ask the players, okay, what's the marching order? What are you all doing on the way there? What tasks are you performing? And there's a limited action economy there, right? There's going to be someone who's doing the scouting and eyes scanning far afield. There's going to be somebody there's
filing their nails.
Yeah, filing their nails. There's the rogue trying to lift stuff from party members' pockets, which is always a healthy gaming decision.
Yes.
And so on and so forth. And so later, as an arbiter, I would make note of that. What are they doing? Because they can either be doing something productive or they could be paying attention to their surroundings. And so when that moment of surprise happens, the people that are paying attention get to react. Now, maybe their reaction is to alert people. Maybe they're the ones that get the role to not be surprised, and the others, or there's a lot of ways to skin this cat.
Yeah.
The ones that aren't paying attention, they get to bid to not be surprised, and the others don't have to. In DreadLore, I'd make it simple. You either are surprised or you're not. You get to bid to not be surprised if you were doing the paying attention task, and the others are surprised. Unless you have warrior sense, and then you get to react anyway. But as written, I think it's necessary and good as it is, because it's still better than the default.
All right. Sharp as steel. At present, you should gain sharp as steel. Right here.
Yeah.
Which is... Oh, I see what I did here. Okay. Boop. Dang. You want to read it?
Warriors who have experienced battle tend to respect others of their kind, even their enemies. There is a knowing in their demeanor, or a look in the eye, which tends to give them away. Those who are sharp as steel are able to observe those around them and glean information of this kind that others would not easily notice. With an appropriate bid, you may concentrate and know who around you is a threat. If these threats attempt to hide their intentions, gain a one bonus success when throwing down to see through their deception. So this basically says that, you have training and you can tell when someone's carrying concealed because you know where to look for the printing in their shirt that says they've got a handgun in their waistband.
Yep.
And other people
Or
just
a
don't pay
hatchet.
attention and don't think about it. To make it real world, I guess. But yeah, the idea there is what to look for. You know what a soldier looks like when they come back from the war because you were there. That kind of thing. Hi, Cam.
Hey, man. Okay, so we've gone through that. I think that's a good power.
Yeah.
Now...
We do need a trait for the pointy end.
Oh, indeed we do. Yeah, I think stabbed or something like that.
Stab.
Stabbing. Thrust with the pointy end and tag your foe and stab your foe. Dealing them. Okay. All right,
so now we get to the page of soldiering where we're talking about blending or separating.
The question here is, do we want to mix Miyamoto and Page of Soldiering?
No, Professional Soldier. Within Page of Soldiering, we have two trees.
I see, Chiseled Warrior and Professional Soldier.
Should they be two separate pages or one? Let's read through them and make a decision.
Yeah, it's a good point because it's really not anywhere else.
Yeah,
at least among those.
Keep going down past this because I did see a page of murder. There's a gruesome terror and
solipsistic refute.
Those do need to be separated, I think.
Yeah.
They need those definitely need to be separate pages.
Oh yes. If not, yeah.
Because those are both very good. And
so the problem inherent with this that you and Cameron were talking about was it doesn't fit the general advancement procession, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have your broad, is that what we call it? Broad and sub?
Yeah, broad type and subtype.
So you have your broad type, which in this case would be...
The Treatises of War.
The Treatise of War. The subtype would be Page of Soldiering, but then this is like a subtype.
Yeah. And so within each page there should be a series of escalating, like a series of progressive discoveries and improvement upon a theme.
I think it should, if that's the case, I think Page of Soldiering is Professional Soldier.
Okay.
And then Chiseled Warrior is just its own page.
They both are similar in theme, and they both also there's a lot of branching. There's like 1A, 1B, 1C, and then Chiseled Warrior I think has one.
So you think just
one.
reorganizing it?
So can they be merged and reorganized? Probably. Can some of those be later discoveries?
Yeah. Well, the way that I set it up was, I believe one is more about being a tank and one is not.
Yeah,
I'm
it's pretty from the
sure
1.7 powers. Yeah.
So let's read through it. Page of soldiering. A soldier is as a soldier does. Professional soldier, see? Fits like a glove. You get fits like a glove. Don your armor. Quick. Not quickly.
It wants quickly, but
it wants it bad.
It did that on purpose.
But it's so quick, there's no Lee. You were so accustomed to wearing your armor that it fits like a glove. You're able to don it in one round. You may bid this trait as an armor trait. So what that means is you can bid it, like when you take damage, you're like, yeah, but it fits like a glove, and you don't take that damage.
That's right. Yeah,
I think that's badass.
Donning any kind of armor whatsoever by yourself in one round is absurd.
in real life. But the idea in a game is, that's what you have in Dungeons and Dragons. Well, you're all sitting in, the tavern in full plate armor.
That's right.
Well, you're going to sleep in full plate armor. I've never even worn full plate armor, and I know that's bullshit. So the idea is you take off your armor. Well, if you're a professional soldier, you heroically don your armor in one round. The thing is, realistically, most gaming groups will probably just not mess with that at all. So we gave it a little bit extra spice, where it's like, well, or you can also use it as basically an extra life, extra plot armor.
And the investment to get this expertise discovery is rather minimal.
Yeah.
And it's generally worth it if you're wearing armor, especially heavy armor. It's worth it. I'm glad we got rid of that standing gaping. Yeah.
The standing gaping was a little bit of a problem.
That's hilarious.
Oops.
What?
Just the gaping and standing. Shield Warrior. Heavy. Hurtful. So you gain 2 traits for this.
This one gives you 2 traits.
This is probably too big. Okay. You see your shield for what it is. Heavy and hurtful. And so readily use it as a weapon. If your foe gets within point-blank range of you, this should probably be...
It's deprecated.
Yeah, it is. Although, I think we still have range increments, don't we?
Do we? Okay, cool, yeah. Right on.
Within point-blank range of you, while you're wielding it, you may bid this trait as a reaction. This is really funny. That means that someone's standing next to you, you have your shield out, you can just be like, bonk! The resulting successes count as an attack with which your foe may react against. As such, this attack deals damage in addition to the shield's damage.
You can just strip that.
Yeah.
Just say the shield counts as a medium weapon for the purpose of this damage.
As such,
just get rid of that whole last sentence, all of it.
From the resulting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gone. Wait. If your foe gets one, you may bid this.
You may attack.
So instead of you may bid this trait, you may bid hurtful.
You may bid.
Well, you should just be able to bid a trait.
Yeah, you're right. You may bid. You may let me see. You may attack as a reaction.
You may You may attack with the shield as a reaction.
Yeah.
So like a small shield, like a buckler, would be like a light weapon, and a regular shield would be 2. The big old like.
If anyone gets around you, you can slap them with your shield.
Yeah, basically, if someone gets in your grill, you just pop them in the face. Give them all, pop them in the lips.
That.
Bop. Get away from me.
Should they get 2? Should you get 2 traits for that?
No.
I think you should get 1.
Give them hurtful.
Yeah.
I like hurtful because that way it doesn't like bias them into thinking that they can't do it with like a buckler.
Right.
So there needs to be something about the kind of shield. Small shields would be a light weapon.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, so on and so forth.
But that's within the shield classifications.
Yeah, that would be an equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Maintained! Your sprock weapons are cleaner than a whistle. One might say maintained. Probably.
Yeah.
And for that reason, they do not fail you unless something real hateful happens. You may bid this trait to gain a die 6 extra die as a bonus. Oh, that's why I didn't get it. But as a bonus, in addition to the normal extra die which bidding grants you.
So that
Bidding
predates
can
training. That predates training.
Well, this means you get 2 extra die for the price of 1. So you'd be like, oh, I'm going to bid an expertise trait and gain an extra die.
So real quick.
Yep. Oh, I'm going to bid maintained. I'm going to get an extra die. That's what that's trying to say. Is that a good rule? I don't know. But that is the idea.
Oh,
And there's several expertise that do this kind of thing. I know, because I wrote it. Alright, think about it. I'm going to beer myself.
Yeah, no,
Do you like it? Do you dislike it?
I like it. It should be a second rank with its cousin edged.
Do it. Make it so.
Make it so. Alrighty. I wonder if we have sharp anywhere as a trait. We're going to do it. Excuse me. That was an important message. Okay. So, I kind of like this. I think investing as a professional soldier should have its benefits. This isn't anything special. It just represents additional training on top of what you normally get. As a reminder, expertise, bidding an expertise trait as an expertise trait gives you an extra die to your roll. This one says that if you're bidding this trait specifically, either sharp or maintained, then you would get the extra die based off of your training level for this page, and a d6 on top of it. So you would get 2 for the price of 1 bid. 2 extra dice for the price of 1 bid. Pretty nice. So let's look at Chiseled Warrior once Will returns. Does anyone have any questions so far? Or are we good? Da, 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 da. It's weird. It doesn't recognize the word foe. I'm thinking with Shield Warrior, something like enters your threatened space. I don't know, but that's very like D&D terminology. It's just something I'm comfortable with, and I don't know why I like it so much. Point blank range. Yep. Yeah, this basically gives you an attack as a reaction off your turn. If they move up to attack you, you get to hit them in the face while they do it. That's funny. With most shields, I think that would technically count as a backhand. Though I guess you could get them with the rim. Okay, we're going to skip these and jump down to Tomes of Mastery. No, we're not. We are going to do Page of Murder. There are 2 branches here, just like soldiering, and they'll need to be addressed. But what we have is thus. Known amongst themselves as clerks, students of the art of assassination must master several skills in order to truly be considered professional. While it is not completely out of the question, depending on circumstance, magicka is typically not combined with Pages of Murder. Some of this is for game balancing purposes, but also because the spirit of magicka is such that is not so simple a thing as the means to perform murder and violence. Basically, what that says... No, thank you. What that says is, we discourage it because mages in DreadLore aren't assassins. It is considered extraordinarily uncouth for anyone who's attended for a classically trained mage to go and do that. They would be an outcast and shamed and probably cast out of any guild or college that they would have been previously associated with. I asked the good as I asked if they had any questions.
Cool.
So we're gonna, now that Will's back, we're gonna double back to Chiseled Warrior. I didn't want to go over it twice.
Yep.
So I brought Maintain down as 2B because they do the same thing, and then I gave this Sharp as the trait because I don't think it's used anywhere else. Whatever. So then you just have 2 options. Do you use melee or do you use like sprout stuff? So Chiseled Warrior. Let's see if it's sufficiently different anymore. Warriors who live through the first few battles do so out toughness, and the cowl sparing them out of toughness.
Yeah.
Of toughness.
And of.
Out of sheer grit.
Out of their sheer grit.
And the cowl sparing them.
And the cow sparing them.
1A, Armor of the Heart.
Armor
Of the Heart.
tough.
You are a tough cookie. Whether you know it or not. Sometimes your peers underestimate you, and sometimes they do not. Either way, you prove how tough you are when pushing becomes shoving. As such, you gain 2 inherent plot armor. Tough may also be bid as plot armor.
So this is literally D&D in DreadLore. Because tough in D&D gives you 3 hit points. It's just that this is a lot fucking better.
Doesn't it give you 3 hit points per level in 5th edition?
No, tough gives you 3 hit points.
There's no.
Pretty sure.
No way.
Yeah, I'm fucking looking it up.
No way.
I'm wrong too often.
God,
I'm gonna show myself.
What if you're playing an outcast mage? You need either the forbid adding. Yeah, Cam, you're right. It's.
No, you're completely and utterly right, Cameron. In fact, people will do that, 100%. But the thing is, if they do that, they are outcast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Players. This is the thing in the story. It's not that we're attempting to dissuade people from doing a thing. If that were the case, then we wouldn't have something like malphasia or, like, you can obviously be evil in the game, right? It's just, there's a consequence. It's like the person who's like, can I play a troll? And it's like, yes, you can play a troll. We're all a bunch of fucking, fucking humans and like half elves and shit. But yeah, you can be a troll and you'll be run out of every town. And there will be adventuring parties that try to kill you despite you're hanging out with us, right? Yeah. At least it should be.
That's what and honestly, that is a decision that the gaming group would decide together, right? It's, hey, are you all cool playing the kind of campaign where occasionally having a troll running around with you is going to cause you problems?
Yep.
Because that can be fun. But if that's the story, then great. And that's what we are encouraging. I think that, Cameron, yes, you're absolutely correct.
100%.
It needs to be, I think, reworded to note that it is possible, and what we're actually getting at is a problem, not a narrative problem or a game problem, but is this your final answer? It's right here.
Oh, it's right there.
Yeah. Is this your final answer? Right? Are you sure this is the game you want to play? I mean, one of the core things that we have in the game by default is something that will make your character an outcast forever. And anyone who finds it out about that you have or are that thing, they will try to burn you at the stake or drown you in a lake or drive you out of town or, whatever. And it's not necessarily always easy to hide either, because you walk into a room and all of the machines start like shaking and rattling and exploding and stuff. We allow it. It's fine. It's just there's a consequence, and it will become an important part of the story that is told in the game. You're uncouth and untrusted, and well, I mean, you're an assassin, right? So
that said, players may do what they want with the Arbiter's approval, but should suffer the consequences.
Get rid of the game balancing purposes thing.
Yep.
Because it really isn't about that at all. I think, is such that it would be deemed uncouth, or that, like, you would be, like, only
we can reword it later.
It's...
I don't think it... I mean, I think at that point it's just style. Reword. Sure. Okay. So, if you guys have some ideas about how to reword that, that'd be cool. If you want to come back and reword it. Alright, where are we?
So, talking about
Unbroken?
tough, you were going to look up D&D tough, but I'd say don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, these two are awesome. That's why they don't have traits.
Okay. Let's see here.
I'll do it on my phone. That way it doesn't slow down the stream.
Sometimes... No. I'm doing Armor of the Heart.
Okay.
Because it's sort of it's not necessarily a run-on, but it's too many clauses. Sometimes your peers underestimate you. Sometimes they do not. Actually, this just... But either way, you prove how tough you are when pushing becomes shoving. We'll get rid of the definite article. Okay.
In 5th edition, every level you gain 2 hit points thereafter, which is pretty nice.
Plus 2 hit points per level that you already have.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so it's 2 per level.
But that's for 5th ed. I'm talking about 3.5.
Oh, I thought you were talking about 5th edition.
No.
Yeah, no, tough is one of those horrible filler feats in 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one that, like, it's just...
But greater toughness is great. No pun intended.
What was greater toughness?
It's I'm pretty sure it's retroactive. I think it's like you gain
Is that the epic
1 or
feat?
2. No. There is another one. Yeah, the epic feats.
Or is it? That's probably called epic toughness. Okay, Unbroken.
Tough.
Unbroken 2A. Many sorts of Zens find themselves in the unfortunate throes of battle. That'd be throws with an E?
I have no idea. Is it? Yeah.
Throws a battle. Some die wretched deaths, others live wretched lives, and still others find themselves changed, though unbroken. Once per game session, when a player takes damage, they may bid an appropriate trait as a reaction and gain a D4 bonus die. The result is subtracted from any damage inflicted upon them.
Toughness. Benefit. You gain +3 hit points.
Yeah.
You can take it multiple times.
Why would you take it once?
Right. You only get... This game's going to span about 5 levels. You get 2 feats. Here's your 6 hit points.
Fuck. Those are the prereqs that we hate.
Yeah.
That's what we're thinking of when we talk about feat trees.
So you just read Unbroken, yeah?
Yeah. I see why you didn't give it a trait.
Yeah, you can just negate die. It's Drink the Sea, just with a die 4.
But the problem is, I don't know that that's sufficient cause to break the mold of not giving an expertise trait per discovery. Because you can do that over and over and over and over again as long as you have a character trait that works.
See, originally, though, when I wrote it, you couldn't. Originally, you had to bid an expertise trait, and sometimes you had to bid the expertise trait that it actually says.
Yeah. And New Magic had changed it.
Yeah. So that's one of the things.
Yeah. This basically says if you have character traits, you have, like, Drink the Sea.
Right.
This is new Drink the Sea.
Yeah, but better. Because there's no resource that manages it. Yeah, that's a problem. And I don't like the idea of adding more crunch of like, oh, get a weird roll and you can, or some bullshit like that.
Off the cuff, I don't know how to fix it. I'd say highlight it and say it's too powerful.
Well, the easy way to fix it is say, you have to bid a trait from Chiseled Warrior or a trait from Pages of War. Like, you have to have one of those traits.
So you have to bid.
That's bid.
You have to bid one of your expertise traits.
Yep. But it would be within the Treaties of War. I'm sorry. So if you have if you're just this Treaties of War son of a bitch, you're really hard to kill. Like, really hard to kill. Not impossible to kill, but very difficult to kill. Unconquered. That's a whole different. Let's read Unconquered real quick.
Go ahead.
No, by all means. Oh, and you get one for Unconquered. I think you actually have to bid this trait.
Some Zens call them heroes, some call them villains, but what is indisputable is that these few veterans are the unconquered. The dredge of combat has caused them to exhibit an indomitable willpower to survive. Once per scene, a player can call upon an appropriate trait and negate damage inflicted upon them by a singular attack that would reduce them to dying or lost, instead reducing them to the 5th wound and sanity slot. And sanity slot?
Well, so there's a little ambiguity here. What it should say is, if you're dying or if you're lost,
you go to wound.
You go to
or
wound 5 or
appropriate.
As appropriate.
Okay, so...
But that's once per scene, so technically they don't need Unconquered.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense. So remember in DreadLore, a scene is when the Arbiter says... A scene ends when the Arbiter says it does. So it could span... An entire game could be one scene. A one-act play, so to speak. You could have 3 scenes in a game. So it's all about... It's a meta-pacing mechanic for the Arbiter to use.
Honestly, we should just leave a trait.
Yeah.
There's a point, I think, earlier in the book where we need to say,
we do.
Unless otherwise specified, trait refers to character trait.
We do.
Yeah.
Or, let me say this, we did. That doesn't mean it's still there.
Fair. Well, I think part of that consistent referring to things as character trait, expertise trait, plot armor trait, ninja gear trait, or equipment trait. That is sort of a new thing. Okay, so the same thing can be done with Unbroken, right? Let's give it Unbroken.
So that the way we're doing this is Unbroken? Yeah?
We're going to do it just like Unconquered.
Yep.
Once per game session. Oh, it's already right there. Once per game session when a player... You got in my head about it.
Make it italics. Oh, no, it needs to be in the brackets.
Once per game session?
Game session. A game session is a mechanical term.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, see, that's why.
So we can ditch this.
That's what we didn't know. That's why we didn't know.
You're right. Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't recognize it as a game term because it wasn't appropriately marked.
I mean, whoever wrote that, Cameron. All right.
Way to let us down, Cameron.
Way to let us down.
They may bid an appropriate trait of reaction, gain a.
Okay, well then that fixes
bonus.
the whole thing. Yeah, they can do it once per session. They can negate something. Yeah, we don't have to fuck with that at all.
Yeah.
Are we doing die or dice?
Die.
Okay.
Although it could just be a bonus D4.
It is. It's a bonus die.
No, I mean like actually written out as a bonus D4.
Well,
to cut down on characters where we can for eventual printing. We'll deal with it later.
Good.
That is not a concern we care about right now.
Okay, so now we're down to Page of Murder. So the question is, do we fold these into one thing? And just you have this hoss-ass Page of Soldiering.
So I like it all. I don't want to get rid of or merge anything else. They are short.
But the question is, are they subtypes? Are they subtypes or are they subtypes? Like that is.
Yeah.
In my mind, like if we're bucking against our own rules, I think it really is just as easy as saying, when you advance into Page of Soldiering, choose either Professional Soldier or Chiseled Warrior.
Yeah, I hate it. Because you should be able to do both if they're both good for you.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and that makes it sound like you are forever locked out. Which we do with one thing in the game. Let's do this.
I mean, what I was going to say is you can do the opposite. Say if you get Page of Soldiering, that applies. Like you can buy from Professional Soldier or Chiseled Warrior.
That has ramifications for how training applies to it and everything else too, though.
That is true.
And that that's a can of worms. I don't want to deal with that balance. My thinking is, I think we still merge them. This would be 4.
Oh yeah, that's definitely
This
4.
would be 3. This can go into 1 with the rest because it's an armor thing, right? Armor, hit points, armor, plot armor, shield, reaction attack, which is hilarious. Then 2 is about dealing more damage. Then you have 3, 4.
Or how about just 3A, 3B?
Because these build on each other.
Not really. I mean, they do to an extent, but it's the idea of like, I want to pick Unbroken, I want to pick Unconquered. Well, why? Like, you could have one as a prerequisite, but you don't have to, because they do different things.
Yeah.
One's per scene, one's per game session.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a problem at all of just a grab bag.
Okay. So, let's do that then. I say merge them. What do you think?
Merge it. Here's the question. Chiseled Warrior or Professional Soldier? I think Chiseled Warrior is the name of it.
Technically, it would still be Page of Soldiering.
Oh, yeah.
But we can change it.
No.
Page of the Chiseled Warrior. I mean, God, they're good. We can use them for something else.
Indeed. The descriptions.
I think we should keep this instead of a soldier is what a soldier does. A soldier is as a soldier does.
A soldier is what a soldier does. All right, so as he does that, I will regale you all with something I'm gonna make up. Drinking Rheingeist, The Truth, which is an IPA, an India Pale Ale. It's quite good. So, I have been thinking hard about this idea of making the book, actually getting it into print. Of course, we're doing all this to finish the game, or complete the game. The game is utterly playable at this point.
And it has been.
Yeah, and has been. It's just being able to actually offer someone a PDF that is comprehensive, and not embarrassing when they're like, this is full of unintelligible riffraff or whatever. So that's really the whole goal. But we would like printed books, and a book that has art in it. That costs money, so crowdfunding. Now, back in the 1.7 days, we actually, right around 2015, we thought about doing a Kickstarter. We thought about it. We did some filming. We had a wolf
In my apartment.
in his apartment. A whole thing, which I think I still have that footage, which we will use. Oh, we will use it.
Oh, we will use it.
We will look 5 years younger, but we will use it.
This will be mine.
This will be mine. You'll have no beard, and I will have more hair.
Oh,
You'll have less hair, and I'll have more hair.
oh, a lot less hair.
Hey now,
I said I will have a lot less hair.
whatever. So, I know. The point is, the Kickstarter has been, or some sort of crowdfunding, I don't know if it be Kickstarter or not, I have been mulling over that. It's been going through the mind. So, we'll start talking about it more in the event we're going to do it. If we do it, then we'll need you guys to tell everyone that we're doing it. To boot, we have a DreadLore server on Discord. It's called Dreadies. And if you're on Discord, you need to be on the Dreadies, or just Dreadies. Send me, or send us, your little Discord handle or whatever it is. Like, it's your name and then the number you're associated with. What? And we will...
It's just, guys, it's there. They knew. It was once per game session, and they knew the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but we weren't paying attention.
We didn't see it.
We were like Superman in Superman 2.
We didn't see it.
So, the idea is get onto the Discord server for Dreadies, because that's where we're starting to talk about all the announcements, any kind of event that'll be in the future, any sort of con that we might go to and have DreadLore, and this Kickstarter. I'm thinking tentatively, like February is when it'll run.
The Kickstarter? Probably any more time than that.
Probably. Well, you speak up to.
I was speaking to you.
Yeah, he's speaking to me. He says we need more time, and he probably is right. But that's what I'm thinking.
So we'll have this finished by then for sure. Then it's about recruiting additional people to help manage the Kickstarter process and sourcing manufacturers, publisher art.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And not everyone involved in it need be like they're not employees or anything. It's just, anyway, we'll talk about it later. Point is, some sort of crowdfunding thing, by and large, to pay the artist. Like I ran numbers, and it's like $8,000-$9,000 worth of art. It's a lot. It's a lot just to do it. And then you have the book, and we're trying to figure out maybe the best way of getting the book printed and shipped.
To have someone professionally edit the book for publication, or edit this Word document for publication as a book.
Yep.
That is a process. and that will require the employment of some sort of contractor or
And like
publication
$1,000.
company. That would be about $1,000, and that would be a whole process we'd have to be involved in.
Oh yeah.
The then there's the art.
Although Cameron is going to do some art for it. I'll throw some art in there, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So there's the art. Then there's the finding a manufacturer to actually produce the book and any other sort of like backer rewards we do.
We will have DreadLore dice.
Storing the product before shipment as it all comes in to us, like having a place to put it.
That's the thing. Amazon supposedly does what is it? It's print or buy to print or print on demand or something. But I'm not exactly sure how that works. Anyway, we've got a lot of stuff to deal with.
That would be like post Kickstarter stuff.
It probably would.
This would be for the Kickstarter. We would have to have people manufacture the books, and then we'd have to have a place to store them until they get shipped.
Yeah.
And
they'd be limited edition, whatever. Yeah.
There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with the Kickstarter, and
it's a whole lot. Point is, we're gonna be doing it.
Oh yes.
All right. So.
So Page of Murder, that is done.
We have done this.
I have merged it.
It has been merged. Okay, so 2B to 3A, 3B. Looks good.
Now we gotta do the same thing for Page of Murder.
Page of Murder.
So one should probably be like the Page of Terror, and the other should be like the Page of Hate, or of Hate Damage. The Page of Hate Damage. Gruesome Terror really is like just awful. As in it is gruesome and just nasty assassination stuff. The other one is Solipsistic Refute. That line of discoveries is has a more spiritual bent to it, or can.
Yep.
Originally, these were faction specific.
Maybe Page of Doom, I believe.
Page of the Red Hand.
It's the Red Hand of Doom.
The Page of the Red Hand.
Page of the Red Hand.
Or Page of Doom. Yeah, I think either is good. So what about Gruesome Terror?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Let's read through it real quick. Known amongst themselves as clerks, students of the art of assassination must master several skills in order to truly be considered professional.
This is we've read all that already.
You have?
Yeah.
You did this before?
Yeah.
Okay, you did all that crap. Okay, a gruesome terror. Did you read this stuff?
No.
Okay.
That's when you came back into the room.
Well, before we read it, if we know that we want to just separate it into two things.
They're very different, and I have played one of them very recently.
Yeah.
They can't be merged.
Okay, so do you want to do?
I guess they could, but I wouldn't. I don't see the
like
benefit.
Page of Terror, and then. See, it's such a cool name, but at the same time, we've kind of got to get rid of the name.
Yeah.
And maybe make it a different power or something. Because it's just this is the problem we have with names, is you come up with something really cool and you're like, I want to keep it.
Yeah.
But we need to get rid of it. So.
It can be a discovery. I mean, there's room for additional discovery in this tree.
Let me make this.
So.
Go on.
Okay. So a gruesome terror is the Page of Doom or the Page of the Red Hand. What is this a page of?
Oh, I was saying that this was a Page of Doom.
This is the Red Hand?
Yep.
Okay. What's the other one?
Yeah, this is literally the Red Hand of Doom.
Okay,
see?
gotcha.
Kel Druve.
The other one, what is it a page of?
Is that how I wrote it? It wasn't all caps, was it?
No.
Page of Doom. I bet it's a different fucking font, and I'm just.
It's a different heading.
I bet it's not a fucking heading at all. That's what it is.
That's not. Here, let me.
Okay. It is in capitals.
It's not supposed to be.
You're right.
It's supposed to be this.
Oh, I made it heading 5. It's a heading 3.
Wait.
That's not heading 3, but it should be heading 3.
What is this heading?
It does it because when you translate it into the thing, like Google docs as like, oh, you mean a heading, but it doesn't actually make it a heading. And
Oh, that's uncomfortable.
yeah, that's shitty.
Heading
Heading 4.
4.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's a page of doom.
Wait, so what is... So actually, so this is...
We're going to hell.
No, we're not. So, Command
Shift.
Alt.
Oh, is it? Okay. Great.
For-
Alt. I see you've been doing this recently.
On Windows.
Oh, yeah. Miyamoto-sana. Sama.
Because now they are in...
Yep. Line with what they should be in.
Yeah, they're... There
Yeah.
we go. And then this...
I don't think you actually have to highlight it.
Just being careful.
That's actually text. You can just click it and make it text.
We're just going to get rid of this.
No! What are you doing? Getting rid of the... What are you doing? No! No! Stop it! What are you doing?
We gotta
Don't get rid of that. Hell's wrong with you?
This should technically be that weird font that you love. What font is that?
It's night something. Yeah,
Jim Nightshade.
Yeah. This is going directly to hell. This is going to hell.
No, it's cool. What's the font size?
It's gotta be uniform. Who cares? Like 14 or something.
14. Okay, cool. And then the Page of Doom
It's 4.
is already 4, so that's good. And this dude, he needs his nightshade so he can sleep soundly. So what are we calling this one?
Page of murder.
Is the Page of Murder?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Let's
I'm thinking take this. Well, actually,
it
this
is-
would go after.
No,
No, that's fine.
It goes before.
That's fine.
We just put the same disclaimer
Yeah.
inside the red hand.
Yeah, that's
Although
fine.
the red hand is different. It is not the same.
Let's
I don't
read
know
it.
it. Yeah.
All right. Trying to. Ugh. Swear.
I fixed it.
Murder is your device. Use it like you would a word, a thought, or a look, for there is no difference. Marathon of Prime. Is that his name?
Yep.
Marathon of Prime. A clerk and cynic. A clerk and a cynic. I feel like that
What
actually
was
should
the-
be a bigger font.
what was
I
the
bet it's
im-
16.
What was the imperial analog to the red hands?
The Dread Sisters. Yeah, well, in the game at least, you had normal assassins guilds and stuff, of course, because why wouldn't you have an assassins guild? But the Dread Sisters were the ones that essentially were magical assassins, and then the Red Hand of Doom were the Azraelian magic assassins. The thing is, Magi assassins. The thing is, they're actually performing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're both witches that are like doing shit. Not necessarily exclusively male. I'm sorry, female, mind you.
Right.
Because in the north, you also had the alchemists and the theurgists. And in Azraelia, while they have theurgy, they really don't have the same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So we've managed to go one down from where we started the stream.
It's good.
We've covered a lot, though,
Violence.
in a weird way.
For a clerk, violence is always carried out with intensity and with the intent to kill. There are no half measures. With an appropriate bid, your study of violence grants you the ability to deal your foe an additional 1 point of damage when one of your lethal attacks would deal damage. That makes no sense. Oh, yeah, it does. I get it.
It's the same as soldiering.
It's the same as
You
soldiering.
get a bonus success.
You must intentionally use violence, calling it out before your attack is resolved to gain its benefit. Well, actually, it's not the same. It probably should be the same. This is one of those,
Well,
if you deal damage, then you get the extra success.
Which we don't really do anymore.
No. We could, but I don't really see a reason to do it.
So do. Whoops. I guess we can.
Bonus sucks.
Bonus success.
You just made that up.
No. Bonus and success are bracketed, so I feel like when you use two bracketed terms in succession, you can keep them in one bracket, right?
That's just the first time we've done it.
Oh.
Which
That's
is
not
fine.
the first time I've done it. It may be.
And now we know why the book looks the way it does.
A one bonus success. One bonus success on or when attacking.
With an appropriate bid, your study of violence grants you one bonus success when attempting to kill. I think it's just when attempting to kill. You only get it when you're trying to kill a motherfucker.
Right, but that would still be an attack.
Right, but
You
that's implicit though.
Okay. You mean specifically you are attacking someone but not trying to kill them.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's no half measures. You've got to use this with the intent to kill. Like if you were trying to push someone over and into the snow angels, and you use violence, well, you're hoping they break their neck.
Yeah, indeed. Go make snow angels with the angels.
Calling up for something. Yeah, you don't really do that. Also, no one does it.
Yeah.
Crippling strike. Sometimes defeating your enemy requires strategy in lieu of dealing sheer damage. When you cause your foe damage with a melee or ranged attack, you may forfeit 1 point of damage in an attempt to hurt him deeply enough to cripple him. Being crippled can be resisted with a successful brawn reaction roll, the difficulty being equal to damage dealt. A crippled foe reduces his action die by 1 step. Jesus. Subsequent effects stack. If a foe's action die is reduced to weak, then he begins taking damage with each use thereafter. So there's some formatting errors there, and it could probably be simplified. But it's a cool power.
So we're keeping it formatting. I'm just going to put formatting.
Yep.
But it's good the way it is.
Do they need a trait?
It does need a trait.
Okay.
What do you want it to be?
Crippling strike. Cripple.
Cripple.
Or cripple him.
Break him.
Break him.
Yeah. I like it. I like break him.
But you have to insert break him into the description.
Yeah. Is that a good one for you?
Break him.
Break him.
Bring him to me.
Okay. So we did that one. Yeah, that's what I'm using, Cam, to quick format the headings. Arterial strike. As a clerk learns the bloody trade, she becomes more intimate with her weapons and learns how to make their killing strikes more effective. When they use a weapon which draws blood, a clerk may bid an appropriate trait to use an arterial strike. If damage is dealt, then our foe bleeds an additional point of damage at the beginning of his next turn. As the wound is deep, protection such as DR and armor do not apply this additional damage, although plot armor may be spent. So the way this should read is that they take a wound at the start of their next turn.
Agreed. But that is, what is that, a 3? It's a 2A? That's too powerful. That's too powerful for 2. That needs to be a later power. Because here's the thing. So,
May I?
there's 2 thoughts. Yeah.
This writing and the exemption from protection stems from a 1.7 problem. Damage reduction, or DR, as it's often referred to in TTRPGs, existed in 1.7. There were originally a couple of instances that were more or less sacrosanct. They basically said in the description, okay, your character gets 2DR if you take this thing at the beginning of character creation, and otherwise you won't get it. But if you have it, then it can't be ignored. There's no way to negate this damage reduction.
Right.
And it was damage reduction too. So effects like bleeding and small recurring damage effects, like
DP, what is it called? Damage over time.
Dots. So bleeds and like being like burning, being on fire, some poison effects and things like that. You would just ignore it.
Well, that's like that point in the game where you're like, so what's in front of us? A pit of lava. You look at your DR. Okay, I'll walk through it.
Yeah.
Because you're taking like 1 point of damage, and you just. Granted, there's a kind of scenario that works.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you're playing like a data kind of character, some sort of character like an automaton or something that just should be that tough. In my opinion,
even the fucking motherfucking 1000
could not survive lava.
So
Truth.
Maybe you got some magic space metal or some craster heart metal or something, then yeah, maybe, which exists, but
that is actually better served by saying you are immune to certain things.
Exactly. So that was a problem on 1.7, where there were just some small recurring kinds of damage that didn't have an effect anymore. And this was born out of that kind of like, we don't want to make that mistake again. If you're only taking a single point of damage, there's a point where someone can just go, oh, well, I don't have to worry about it because I've got DR or something. The idea is once the damage is in you, things like armor and damage reduction don't apply because it's like surface level. I put up a mana shield. I generate with my magicka a wall of force that will blunt incoming attacks. Okay, great. It's already, beneath the skin. The poison is in your body. It's ravaging your organs. And DR doesn't work. Your magical spell damage reduction doesn't work. The magic tattoos on your skin doesn't work because it's already beneath them. And how do you phrase that in a way that is system-wide and not case-specific? The answer to that was what we wrote here. As the wound is deep, protections such as DR and armor do not apply to this, although plot armor may be spent. I would say, since it's all the same, and is DR in Relapse?
I think it is.
I always forget.
I'm pretty sure it is.
And I don't think it's the same.
Let me look. Well, of course. Is there a case-sensitive thing you can do on this?
Yes, match case.
Match case. All right. Well, there's one.
That's
there's 10 uses of it.
Wait, do that again.
Yep, I'm doing it.
No, you gotta make it case-sensitive again.
God damn it. Son of a bitch.
Match case. Previous.
Previous. I can't get it out of the way.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
All right. There it is. Breastplate of the Deep. Yeah, it's still NDR.
These are relics. These are relics, though.
But what I'm saying is that it's still in the book.
It's still in the book.
I'm pretty sure it's never been taken out of the book. Which, that's because we were kind of going back and forth on it.
Those perks are gone, though.
Are they? The gifts?
Well, see...
Oh, we went through it. I would assume it is.
We did. Yeah, well, because we just went through the beginning of the book, and they're not there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you want...
No. We can... Yeah. So let's go back to this thing.
And I was referring to... I called them perks because they don't exist anymore.
Right.
So they never really made it over. The point being... It's supposed to be hard to deal with. It's supposed to tax you, and it's supposed to work on everyone, right? Like, if the person bleeds, if they have a fluid that matters and they need to stay inside them, then them leaking that fluid out the next round does damage. So, that's the idea. I think the idea of it just giving them a wound will serve the purpose. Although if they can spend plot armor,
it shouldn't give them a wound.
Okay.
At least, I mean, it makes sense. Arterial strike should deal wounds. The thing is, that is OPAF.
It's essentially
that is like you will murder everything, which is cool, but not. You could do this off the bat.
So when I said
that'll take you a game session. When I had said that, I immediately forgotten that plot armor could be spent. Oh, okay.
That's the issue. So it is not the same. This just needs to say that only plot armor can be spent to negate the damage. Nothing else can, and that basically implies nothing else can. DR doesn't work. I don't know. Just leave it. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't think we should mess with DR. I actually do think we're perfectly fine having DR. It's just we have to be very, very, very careful about how it works. Yeah, there's a her down there with her foe bleeds. Right
Their
here.
weapons, and I'm trying to figure out why it's saying this doesn't work.
No. This is why you can spell very well.
What?
This is why you spell well, because you care.
They become more intimate with their weapons, and they learn how to make their killing streak. Yeah, okay. When they use a weapon which draws blood, then their foe. Okay, yeah, it's good. It needs
A
trait.
Draws blood. Nah, wait. I would say bleed, but that's tropey. Killing strikes. There's another word in here we use, which is cool. Wound is deep. No. Appropriate when blah blah blah. I could have sworn. Bloody trade.
Did you do bloody?
How about bloody trade? Or just bloody. Bloody's fun.
That's what we're gonna do.
Bacardi.
Oh. All right.
Dies Irae. Day of Wrath. That's what that means. Some assassins pride themselves in what they term clean kills.
That's clean kill.
Clerics who study the gruesome terror think nothing of it. Subduing their enemy is paramount. By bidden an appropriate trait, a cleric attacks her foe savagely with a melee attack and gains an additional 1 point to death. Effects from Dies Irae stack with those granted by violence.
You just get 2.
You get double. So this would actually be... I see what I was trying to do with saying it stacks, but actually that kind of makes it more confusing. Because it doesn't stack in so much as if I do Dies Irae, then I get 2. I have to spend 4 Arterial Strike, and I have to spend 4 Dies Irae.
I read that as you don't have to spend for both.
That's my point. I think that is that's an advanced power.
Mm-hmm.
And it shouldn't work that way.
Okay.
this is just allowing you to bid to murder. Just think of it like
Give them an extra attack. No, that's
a
two.
bad idea.
That's 2. Yeah. Oh fuck.
Check this out.
I mean, I think savage. I'm like
What I'm thinking of is someone who has
Just
Chisel
claws
Warrior
and teeth.
and this, and they're like, cool, I spend 5 of my traits. You take 7 damage I haven't even rolled.
Yeah.
See, I think
I've been there.
I think like an arbiter, right? I'm like, oh, it's cool, but don't give them anything because they'll use it. That's the trap that DMs and arbiters, game masters in general, often fall into. Is they forget that if you put it in the book, they will get it. And you're just kind of a dick, like, if you don't give it to them. For instance, if you fight Orcus and he has his wand, motherfucker, he better get away. Because those players will get that wand. Alright. This is limiting because it has a melee attack, which is a little bit shitty. Some assassins pride themselves it's clean kill. That's the whole idea if you're doing it with a knife, you're doing it up close. I think instead of a melee attack, it would be better to just say it has to be up close. I mean, I know that's technically like a melee attack, but it means a melee attack is like, well, the weapon has to be in my hand. This could be like, well, I'm close, I throw a dagger. Or I'm close, I use magic.
Like a short crossbow.
Or a short crossbow.
How many ways to deal extra damage do we already have?
We already have a lot.
Because we've got the page of Miyamoto, and it gives you 2 ways to get bonus successes on the attack.
On the opposite side, though, if a player is playing someone who's like a samurai, samurai assassin, makes sense.
Yeah.
But if they're playing like a wizard, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, you're an assassin too.
Well,
Why?
I think it is important to look at the maximum progression for like dealing damage here. So you're looking at 2 within Miyamoto.
Yep.
Soldiering would essentially give you 1, or if you've got some sort of like sprock knife,
So
you could
2.
get 2, and this would give you 2d6 extra dice on top of. God.
Yeah, but if you're rolling extra dice, you're looking for successes. And that's a 50-50.
That is a 50-50.
So if anything, you're getting like there's a 60% chance you're getting a +1.
Yeah, we'll move past this.
Yeah.
Although with d6 it's just a 50%.
Yeah, but you're
per die.
But you're doing 2d6 if you spend them both.
Yeah. And specifically spending them both would give you the expertise, the normal extra die for the expertise as well.
You're also dropping traits like a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
That's the reason why this stacking, if it makes you think that, I don't think it should have that asterisk. Just that way, someone's like, well, I'm going to spend them both, and it's like, yeah, you can do that. They stack because you spent them both. So the player is dropping bids to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Totally cool with that. And, if they're doing it every round, they're dropping like 3 traits a round just to attack. I'm perfectly fine with that.
I like that better. So yeah, you could get 4. You get 4 successes.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
They're spending for it. I think
and
it's fine.
that would be 4 bids.
Yeah.
5 for the standard. So realistically, with 6, a person who has all 4 of these discoveries across Miyamoto and murder, they would spend a trait for the major action of the attack. They would spend a trait that anyone can do for the +1 success.
Plus.
And they would spend 4 more traits, so 6 total, and they would be attacking with a +5.
And they could, and if they're a fairly high level as in fairly powerful character, they could probably do that 3 or 4 times without batting too much of an eyelash.
Yeah.
If someone's doing that, it's going to matter. They're going to be dropping proficiencies for
And
rerolls and whatnot.
And that's before they start getting into rerolls and extra dice from
I think that's
expertise
fine.
traits.
Because that's someone who is...
A killer. I mean, that's like Thade level. I'm gonna cut you.
That is, in fact, Thade.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we delete this.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be there.
It's another one.
I fucked up.
You fucked up.
Okay, so I think taking away from melee just needs to be within a close distance.
Within close? Okay. Within a close distance. A cleric attacks her foe savagely within close range and gains. We need to shore up and unify the language there.
Yeah, let's look for...
I'll do that off screen.
Okay. Let me make a note. Range increments. Nomenclature. So, we had a really good nomenclature for ranges that Ben actually devised in 1.7. We kind of moved away from it. We just need to make sure that, while we're editing, we're not making up new ways to say it. We also don't want to spend a ton of time moving through this book trying to edit in little bits and pieces, especially when we have so much lag.
There is actually something that I've been thinking about. The last few times we've played DreadLore, range has never really come up.
It rarely does.
The reality,
no, it does. It does.
Only when we're talking about architecture. The only time range comes up is like, hey, how big is this room? How big is this building? Right? When you're dealing with confined spaces, range matters. But in DreadLore, because of the way that he runs it specifically, which is the way that I would advocate it being run, it really just becomes a question of what's appropriate. Am I in range to shoot them with a rifle? Am I in range to shoot them with a hand crossbow? Can I throw this at them and they catch it, or hit them with enough force that it's impactful? Can I reach out and touch them? All of these questions matter, but it's because we always have eschewed defining things in terms of a number of feet or a number of yards or meters or whatever. None of this has ever really come into play. I think other systems do things like zones, which is interesting. Yep. Are you in the same zone, or do you have to move through the zone? Because if you're in the same zone, then it's technically you don't have to worry about the movement, that kind of thing.
I think the problem is that we've been so affected by that. It's one thing that I really think White Wolf, at least with Vampire, and Hunter, as far as I'm aware, has done. I don't know what they do with Mage, but you really don't mess with distances. There's certain prerequisites you have to meet, and if you meet those prerequisites to affect someone, you do. Maybe it's line of sight, or maybe they have to be in the same room and listening to you, or they have to be able to understand you, something like that. The game practice, the actual real world example that I've usually come I've encountered is during an encounter when I'm game mastering, whether it's a veteran player or a noob. It'll be the overall question is, okay, what can I do?
Yeah.
What can I get away with, but what can I do? A noob will say, or a new player will say, okay, well I have my sword. Can I run up and hit him? And I'll say, oh, okay, well, let me see in my head. How far is that? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you can get there. Or, no, you can't. You can get there in 2 rounds. Because most of the time, when I'm running games, I'm not using a grid. I'm not using a map of any sorts with minis. Old school D&D, you kind of just use that. So the range increments really, really mattered because it's more of a board game tabletop RPG than than people would like to admit. In DreadLore, I very, very rarely, if ever, use a grid. And especially with Relapse, it's not even really made that way. Like, there's no reason to have a grid. We toyed around the idea of having like a little card that would come with it that kind of like measured distance at one point, and just threw all that away. It's the idea of, are you within a close distance? Well, what is that? Well, it's, from here to there. Point blank, you can touch. Line of sight, that's pretty easy. But even that, to a degree, people are like, well, wait a minute, I don't understand the difference between short distance and medium. Well, what's the difference? And I always, and I mean always, end up explaining, okay, they're a medium distance, and then using real-world examples. That's like from us to the street. But that becomes really difficult to do, or more complicated to do, if you're doing remote games, because you're not right there. So I do wonder, we need a range increment system, but one that's very apt for mind's eye theater. Touching makes sense. Line of sight makes sense. You can hear them, right? These are things that people understand. A stone's throw, right? Mm-hmm. Spitting distance, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think we should use the range increment nomenclature where appropriate. Just use examples where appropriate. And then when we actually describe what those range increments are, we refer to them as that. Yeah. Oh, it's like spitting distance, which is around maybe 10 foot or 3 meters. Well, what if the wind's blowing? Yeah.
Yeah. They're really abstract.
Abstragio. Okay, so what do we think about dies irae?
It's fine.
Stored death. Gives you stored death. A clerk of the 3rd rank begins to learn of the gruesome terror's mysticisms. One such technique is stored death. I feel like you had to have like pocket full of death or something. To injure oneself in the present in order to empower her attacks for later. A clerk can deal herself damage which cannot be mitigated by protections like DR, plot armor, and so forth. She then stores those points into a killing tool, whether that be her blade, a bolt, arrow, her hand, etc., and release them as she sees fit into her foe if she deals him damage with that tool. She may store points of damage equal to her ranks and wits. Storing death requires time and discipline, whatever that means. A clerk may only store 1 point of damage per day. So, I feel like I wrote this and made it up at the same time.
What this actually says is if a player has a rank 3 wits, they can give themselves 3 wounds over 3 or more days to store 3 damage in their knife or an arrow or a shovel that they keep in the barn,
right?
Or whatever they want. And when they get someone with it, that person's body downloads the damage, and it's a way to deal more damage on an attack. You use it as you use the weapon as a receptacle, and they take it. Yeah, I don't know. You get a bag of death.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't make that any clearer. I don't know how to make it clear. I feel like bag of death is. I think you know. The point is, you deal damage to yourself, and that damage is replicated in whatever you use to hurt yourself with, right?
But the stopgap is you can only store so much And we should probably say it's in like one receptacle or something. Actually, I don't really care. As an arbiter, if I had a player who was like, what the fuck's that? If I had a player who's like, look, I have 5 wits, so they have a die 10 in their wits. And I want to have 5 of my knives. I want to put 1 point of wound in each one. That way it's not a glass cannon, right? Is that the right term? Anyway, the idea is
Not like
it's
a one-off.
it's not a one-off. So if you store it all into a blade, what if you miss? Well, it's all lost. But if you have 5 knives, you're dealing 1 little damage per each deal. I think it's perfectly fine to do that. But you have to...
If she deals them damage with the tool. So it won't be lost unless the attack is successful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, then that mitigates it. But regardless, I'm perfectly fine with them splitting it between whatever they want.
Yeah, it depends on the adversary they're prepping for.
Right.
If it's a bunch of little gobos versus like a Lich.
Right.
Like Lich Zoloon.
That's right. But like if she wants to be like, oh, I've got 4 wounds to play with. Okay, well, 2 here and 2 here, in different elements. I'm fine with that. It's just there has to be a stopgap of once you do it, it's there and you can't keep on doing it because a player will be like, I've got a knife. Wait, I can store death in it, like bags of death. Okay, well,
I can turn my knife into a bag of death.
so all of my bullets have it. Okay, what do? I'm cutting myself in the corner. That's what I'm doing in the downtime. And I'm going to do it right before the night ends so I can heal.
Yeah, so the way that this actually, fucking long rests. The way this actually reads is that they deal themselves damage that can't be mitigated at all. So you take wounds. I feel like it has to be wounds.
Yeah, right now it's just damage, but it's got to be wounds.
Well, I mean, as opposed to sanity.
Is it wounds and big deal? Like so? Or is it just bracketed?
That would make it a trait. So it would need to be, I could do wounds or sanity? I guess
Wounds or sanity?
Could you do sanity?
Why not?
Alright. I guess you would have to be a little insane to hurt yourself to this degree. Like, in order to hurt other people. Like, there's a point, right, where you're the assassin, and you've been made to, like, kill the people that went through training with you so that only the strong will make it to the final selection, and yada, yada, yada. Insert weird, creepy assassin narrative backstory. And now you're the person who, like, uses their own body to empower weapons. And that's a little unhinged. Just a little bit. So yeah, sanity damage. That makes sense. The other stopgap here, not only does the player have to prep this over time, but wounds and sanity, you get back 1 between scenes. And I don't mean 1 wound and 1 sanity that was lost. I mean 1 from either. So it is precious. If you have a wits of 4 and you burn through them over 4 days, and it's 1 scene across those 4 days, then magic bullets for health instead of mana. Yeah. You're going to be almost dead for a while. You're at risk of going down forever. There's a benefit, but it is steep. It is a steep cost. I think you can get rid of the mitigated, because you're not dealing damage. You're actually just giving yourself a wound.
Right, but I'm saying, like, you can't soak it.
I was trying to cut down on word count, because giving yourself damage that can't be mitigated is a wound. If you're just giving yourself a wound or a sanity, you've already gotten past the mitigation step. It's
Okay.
not damage. We could say, like, i.e. damage that can't be mitigated. would make it parenthetical. Comma, go away.
Oh, yeah. What are magic bullets for health instead of mana?
Check the chat real quick.
Yep. Add some Malphasia and you're off to the party. Indeed. Just hope they
Shared pain. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Shared pain. That's a good one.
My specific problem is that this is in, but magic bullets is out.
So you think stored death, or do you think shared pain? What do you think?
Shared pain is cool.
Yeah. Shared pain. So one such technique is Bag of Death. Probably should take Bag of Death out of there, shouldn't we?
Why?
You think it's cool?
I mean, it's tongue in cheek, but I don't care.
Okay. Page of Doom.
Maybe in order to empower later attacks, where it doesn't like attacks for later. Maybe just later attacks.
Right. Page
Doom.
of Doom.
That makes me sad.
I know. These secrets were stolen from the Red Hands of Doom, and they will eventually return. These secrets of how do you spell it?
Solipsistic SOL solid IP STIC.
Refute.
Sorry, I had
Is it
to
double L's?
read.
Solipsistic. Cool.
Shit, my bad.
Whatever. There it is. It's there.
I missed
Solipsistic.
an S. Damn it.
Were stolen from the Red Hands of Doom, and they will eventually return. Be warned! Kel drove a Red Hand of Doom as he choked on his own blood.
Suggestion. It gives you the trait. Suggestion. Arguably the most powerful instrument, the mind, makes sense of the world it experiences. A cleric uses vocal suggestion to turn her foe's mind against itself, causing it to become its own enemy, and briefly confuses his perceptions long enough, for instance, to slip past him unnoticed, or to convince him that a prisoner still sleeps in her cell when it is empty.
In their cell?
In his? It's an NPC.
Truth.
So
Well, I like...
I don't care.
Is it confusing?
No, it's just it's arbiters, female players are they, and
I know.
NPCs.
I know, but
him.
I think that I had those different pronouns so you would know who they're talking about.
A prisoner.
Well, I know it could be a him or he or her, but I'm saying, like, because we're using a him,
For the guard.
right?
Ah.
So, or to convince him that a prisoner still sleeps in his cell. Would you mean the guard
Well,
or the prisoner?
the guard's not in the cell. I think it's clear by context.
Fair enough.
Because it's a guard. The prisoners are in cells and the guards
Just
are outside.
Fan. All right.
So the first sentence is it's a truism.
It's just passive is all it is.
Yeah, that's my problem with it. I think we get rid of it. It doesn't contribute anything.
Yeah, sure.
Unless you're married to it for some
Nah.
reason. But I think that it works without it.
Yep.
Because everybody knows the mind is how you perceive the world.
I think the question here is, how is this different than just a spell? So there's got to be something mysticism-y about it. And right now we do have we do have the nuts, which is this is what the thing does, but we need to know how it's done. Right? As in, there needs to be some flair. It shouldn't just be like, you just have suggestion. Like, well, do you say, look that way?
Red hands are potent mentalists and manipulators. They're like, mentalists can do this shit, but they're stage magicians. They're not wizards. Right? They know how to manipulate people by paying attention to behavioral patterns and like, oh, you've got the Naruto pin on your backpack, so you're into anime.
Okay, well, how about this mentalist?
What was it before?
Suggestion.
Ah.
So how about mentalist, and that way we don't have to say anything. It's like, well, how do they do it? They're a mentalist.
Oh, I
Done.
came up with a cool sentence for you, man.
Yeah, well, we'll fucking write it up there.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
Just teasing.
Marking the kill. Gives you mark.
Indeed. Clerks quickly learn that distance is everything. She becomes able to lay her bare hand upon they become able to lay their bare hand onto their foe's body and mark him. Mark? Oh, hi, Mark. Marking often goes unnoticed, although a wary foe may perceive the clerk's intent. Because if you grab onto someone and, your grip's a little tight, it's going to unnerve somebody and make them think that you're a creep. What was it? A creepy rando? A creepy rando at DragonCon. A brushing or glancing touch is not enough to mark a foe. True contact, a briefly sustained hold,
Yeah.
such as casually shaking a hand, is enough. That was casual contact.
That's how I touch everyone.
Marking a foe grants the clerk a sixth sense awareness. With concentration, they might glean information about his general direction, mood, health, or even if he's actively lying. Of him.
Okay.
With concentration, they might glean information about his general direction and distance from
Distance.
them.
All right.
Mood, health, or even if he is actively lying.
Okay, let's finish channeling and glower,
And then we're done.
and we're done for today.
I figured 10 was where we were stopping. Okay, channeling. You get channel. Once a clerk is able to mark their foe, they learn how to channel their cold-blooded intent into him and fuck him up. The act of
Go on.
The act of channeling operates just as marking does, except that bare skin must meet bare skin.
Yeah.
So before, the clerk always has to be bare. They have to bare themselves to their foe, right? You take the glove off and you touch them on their shirt, and that's okay. This, it's got to be skin to skin. Dealing harm in this way is most vicious and can stress both the physical and mental. A clerk could, for example, inflict an additional point of damage with each round after the first that the hold is sustained. Effects stacking. Or they could dream up something more insidious to inflict upon their mark. Cold-blooded. I like it. So this really is like force choke. You put them in a handshake and you start like grinding their knuckle bones together.
Yeah.
And like they're on their knees and crying, and you're like, ah ha 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 ha. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's intense. Cold-blooded.
How about that?
Yeah, it would. Yep. Done.
Glower.
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 I really wish it were glower.
I
but
wish it were.
It's not. A meaningful glance with eye contact being made allows the clerk who has mastered their gruesome craft to glower the resting bitch face into the depths of their foe's heart, and deal him sanity damage. The clerk must be able to see the white of their foe's eyes, although their foe does not need to see them. Glower may operate as channeling if her foe is marked. Um, I don't know that's necessary because this is ranged and this isn't. And this, you will always meet the circumstances. Like this is line of sight.
You're talking about channeling?
Yeah. Glower may operate as channeling. Because channeling, the way I read that, so you've got to lay your bare hand onto you've got to touch the foe with your bare hand to mark them.
Yep.
And then you know where they are and stuff. This one says you have to make skin-to-skin contact with the foe and mark them.
Well, channeling allows you to actually deal damage.
Right. But because you've done skin-to-skin, you can do like a damage around to them. It is ambiguous. No, you're holding them. Okay, yeah. So this is you're touching them, and as long as you're touching them, you're hurting them.
Yeah.
In some way. This is line of sight.
Well, you have to be able to see them.
That,
like,
yeah, that's what I mean. It's line of sight. You make eye contact with someone. You look them in the eyes.
I don't think that's considered line of sight. Line of sight is you just see them.
Fair enough. My point is, it's ranged. And
yes.
the other is not.
100%.
So working as channeling, I don't know.
Also, this deals sanity damage specifically, not just damage. Now, players can be like, oh, I'm going to take sanity. I'm going to take wounds instead. This deals sanity damage. Like,
or do they just take a...
This deals sanity. Yeah. This murders them.
For some reason, and I play...
I'm not saying we should
I play in a campaign with this.
I'm not saying we should do that. I'm saying that.
I've always read it as they make a sanity roll. like you look at them and they go into like an epileptic fit.
Yeah. And
like they're seeing like their inner demons and shit.
Yeah, I think this I mean a way of doing it is saying it takes
I'm a bear. Here's my hand. Touch of the Morgan. All right.
So the Morgan. So the idea of you look at someone, if you catch their eye, then you shoot a mind bullet at them.
Yeah.
And they're like, ooh, like, you know, ooh. You know, like, you know, that you deal them a sanity damage. But the thing is, you don't roll for it. You deal them one. Otherwise, you're like, ah, and they just die. Like, they just go down. Although
it's too easy to get for that. Like, in all honesty, there's not enough investment.
Well,
here's the other thing. So,
what if it just deals them damage, and then if it goes into wound sanity, it has to be sanity?
Well, so what this actually? So
yeah.
Depending on where we change this, so Glower may operate as channeling if the foe is marked. What that basically means is I've marked you, and now I'm looking at you, and as long as I can see your eyes, whether you're looking in my direction or not, if I can see your eyes, I'm dealing a sanity damage around.
I think it should deal.
That's what
damage.
That actually says.
Right. I think it should deal. I think it should deal damage. That if it rolls over, it's got to be towards sanity. Or it just deals damage at range.
I like the idea of inflicting a sanity roll, and
so
as a player with this trait, I don't think it should deal sanity damage. Or at least if it deals sanity damage, I don't think it should be an attack roll, because dealing more than one like wound that bypasses all defense would be insane. Because like you look at a person and you melt them with like a mind bullet. So maybe it is a mind bullet, but it's essentially treated like a normal attack roll that has to be assigned to sanity. I think there's something really cool and unique about prompting a sanity roll when you make eye contact with someone. That is interesting and different, and I think and recognize that it may be less impactful for NPCs who often don't care about sanity. Like mechanically, it doesn't really affect them. It may take them out of like a round of combat or something while they like reorient their brain, you know? But
we're doing throw down.
Maybe that's it. Maybe they have to. So instead of throwing down or anything, you make eye contact with someone, they make a sanity roll, and they have like the stunned condition for the combat.
So you just stun him.
Yeah,
it's pretty good actually.
Sanity roll and stunned.
So if he fails, he's stunned, or he just is stunned.
Yeah, he has to fail the sanity roll. Yeah, because that's different.
Stunned or bewildered. That'd be a cool deal for later. Is you could also do one to do bewildered. Stun and bewilder. Hilda. Because stunned only affects physicals, and it does not affect mentals.
Indeed.
Actually, wouldn't that be cool? Well, you don't want it to be automatic. Make a comment and say we should add a deal. You have glower, but then you have like, something that deals.
Maybe it should be bewildered then, because it's a sanity roll, right?
Okay. Okay. Like so you just bewildered the F out of someone.
Yeah.
Are we calling it RBF?
Sure.
I do like that.
Well, all right. Lose an action. Make them lose an action. Yeah.
Lose an action is cool. However, it's not cool for players. Because then you're just sitting there for like 10 minutes.
Eye.
Oh, the evil eye. That's a good one. Although, isn't the evil eye supposed to be a good thing?
No.
Really?
No. You ward against that shit.
Okay. Evil eye. The evil eye. All right. We're going to be fini for this.
I think we get rid of this too. Working as channeling. You make eye contact with them, you promote a sanity roll. If you want to do it again, you got to spin that shit again.
No, don't they have to be your mark though? Which I think that's why that was there. Like you can't just do it to anybody. You got to
of their marked. Foe's heart.
Cool. All right, ladies and gents, that is tonight. Thank you for sticking with us for 2.5, nigh on 3 horas. We got done with a ton of stuff. We're actually almost completely through with Module 4, which is great because we'll be going into Module 5, and I think Module 5 will actually be pretty easy to do.
It should be quicker.
It should be a lot quicker. I'm gonna make a.
It is the fastest of the expertise modules because we'll have already explained what expertise is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Now we have to update it. We will have already explained what expertise is, and there aren't as many broad types.
Yep.
In fact, there's one. And there's only 3 subtypes, so.
Yeah, indeed. So, we've got next Monday. Oh, I fucked up everything.
Next Monday.
Everything's blown up. All right.
Bye.